Welcome back, and today we are revisiting the J35XS, and in my opinion it's still one of the better premiums that you can get for rank 7s. Especially now that the Swedish actually have something to grind. We have the JS39 Gripen, and it might get nerfed in the future, so I do want to warn you in advance. But right now it's one of the best planes in the game, and I was gonna make a video on grinding the thing, but I had some things come up and I wasn't able to make this video in time. So today we are going to be taking a look at the J35XS, what it's good at, and most importantly what has been changed, because the flight model has changed since the last time I made a video on this thing. And it's mostly the maneuverability. It won't go into the super styles anymore like it used to do, where you went a little bit too heavy on the rudder or the elevator at low speed, and you would go into like a bit of a flat spin kind of thing. We call it a super style. You basically couldn't get out of it unless you were at least like 2 kilometers of altitude. It's a lot more stable. However, the stability comes with a bit of a drawback. It's nowhere near as maneuverable as it once was, but it still loses about the same amount of speed. It's not as fantastic anymore as it used to be, but it's still fast. You have 6 good missiles and you only have 1 gun. Now the 1 gun is a little bit of a detriment, but you have to see it in a different kind of way. You get flares over the J35D, you get 2 extra missiles over the J35D. And those are the biggest changes here. Sure, you lose a gun, but getting gun kills in the J35 wasn't your main killing power anyway. The guns on this thing, while they are okay, they are tracerless, and I get this question quite often on my older videos. How do I get my tracers on my 30mm? I'm afraid to tell you that you can't get them anymore. They have been removed, they have been patched out, and it makes it quite hard to aim. On top of that, the J35s are particularly not very great at getting gun kills anyway. And why is that, you might ask? It's because it's not very good at sustaining fights. Now, before you get your torches out and start flaming me in the comments, I'm mostly talking about the team setting. Of course, in a 1v1, you can do it. However, using your strengths in a team fight kind of bites you in the ass with this thing. You will find yourself out of energy in the span of 10 seconds, your balls will be drained, and you are going to be sucked dry, and I'm not a big fan of it. But with the maneuverability and the quote-unquote stability update on this thing, it's not very great at getting these high speed snapshots, and you kinda have to get people slow in order to use your gun properly. Of course, with some good aim and some good practice, you will be able to get kills with the gun. I'm not gonna say that it's impossible. It's not absolutely terrible, but it's by far the weakest strength or the weakest feature of something like the J35. So losing a singular gun makes your worst attribute a little bit worse, but it makes all the other things quite a bit better. Having more missiles, especially having some flares, just makes it a lot more survivable, and it makes you able to stay in the fight for a lot longer. Now, if you are in these smaller fights, like with this 23 MF right here, I can very easily just get behind him and shoot him down. Now, I can't aim properly because I just can't aim. So we kind of just turn after him, we dodge the F5E, and by the time we get back onto the MiG-23 to shoot the missile off, he's gonna die in a head-on, and we get nothing done. There is one massive detriment still to this plane, however. You can't really go to altitude at all, and when you have an IR-only slinger, it is nice to get a little bit of altitude and dive on the groups, but you don't have RWR, you don't have enough countermeasures. Even if you were able to tell there's a radar missiles being shot at you, like right there I can tell because of the burn trail, the speed of the missile, and I know the plane. But most of the time you are not aware of a radar missile being shot at you, so you kind of just have to hug the deck and hope that the missile just kind of multi-paths its way into a tree. Very plausible, but it kind of hinders your options a little bit. Right here we are being engaged by an F4S, and the F4S is decently maneuverable because it does have the aggressive wing slats, so I do want to be somewhat careful, but it's mostly about not running out of energy before we get a shot on him. This time around he goes down, we go up, so we actually lose a bit of speed, we tighten up our loop, and we instantly get on his 6. Now if this guy panics, which he clearly is doing, he will instantly run out of energy, and at these low speeds I have a very easy time just reeling him in, especially because he's not flying this, well, very optimally. We kill this guy, and in the meantime our team dies, and well, this time it's not a joke, I didn't record it. But I'm not gonna pretend that I won that. I got in a bit of a 1v6 and I just ran out of energy trying to dodge everyone at once. And that's the main issue with this thing. You don't have good killing power with the gun, and because you only have IR missiles and not very strong ones at that, they are only Aim-9J's equivalent, it's very hard to carry matches when everyone is paying attention to you. Granted, it's not a full down tier. In a full down tier you have plenty of performance to really run around everyone. But I mean, what main fighter doesn't really? The compression is so bad nowadays that if you get down tiered at all, you have a massive advantage. And if you get up tiered at all, you have to fight for your life. That's nothing new. But with this thing, it's especially true, because with this thing, you kind of need your time to kill people if they are paying attention to you, because you can't really just slam on that elevator and outturn everyone. Now, you will be able to turn into them very quickly, but that's also because you lose a lot of speed. And with losing a lot of speed in this massive furball, you're just gonna eat shit. Now, luckily, we have 12 whole ass flares. Now, the issue is that you do drop 2 at a time, so effectively you only have 2 of these pops. If you think about running flares reinforced, for example, you only have 3 pops. And if you run something like mixed, you only have 3 pops. So, I really can only advise flare standard, as you will just run through them way too quick. And if you get one guy on you, he's just gonna shoot 6 missiles at you. And if you run anything other than just regular flares, you're gonna run out before you are able to dodge all of his missiles. And because of the way this plane really interacts with the air around it, mostly because it's a delta wing, without flares you are gonna run out of speed very quickly if you are gonna dodge missiles without using a mountain, like we kinda tried to do right there, but I wasn't in the position. Let's take a look at some of the maneuverability again. We are going to go head on with the F104 after going through that motion of the furball in the middle of the game. It's all about positioning. I can talk about it all day long, but there's really not much to mention there. We have an F104. And it's an F104G, it's a German one. He does have good missiles, he does have flares. So, realistically, I can't really missile him out of the air. And if this guy actually runs trains on me, if he just keeps his speed, I can't really touch him. He's gonna be faster accelerating, he's gonna keep his energy much better. But of course, if he goes into a bit of a prolonged fight, I'm instantly gonna get on his 6, it's only an F104, and then we just shoot a missile at him. Now, is he gonna flare it? The answer is yes, but he keeps his afterburner on, so it's still gonna eat his ass. F104 is down, and now we have an F4 to deal with. And I know that these dogfights are not particularly telling. They don't really show you how good or how bad the plane is, but I just want you to have an understanding of how this plane interacts with the air around it, because you will be able to basically one-turn every plane in the game, and if it goes prolonged you will just run out of energy unless it's a plane that's not very strong. Something like an F4EJ, for example, is probably not going to win prolonged either, despite its power, because we just have such a low stall speed. We turn into him, we kind of just try to get on his 6, we lose control, so I just want to make sure that I don't get in his guns. We go up over his nose, and once we are in position, I'm just going to hammer that elevator, fly up over him, bait him into the shot, and once he takes that shot, he is instantly going to get reversed, because the F4EJ does not have Agile Eagle. So Mr. Nya Nya Neko here goes back to the hangar, and we are going to find ourselves in a bit of a tough spot. We have a lot of F5s, which are basically your main enemy in this thing, because they are not much slower. They are slower and you will outrun them very easily, but they are fast enough to kind of just sit on your 6, and they hold their speed a lot better while being decently maneuverable. So everyone is around here. We have an F5, an F5, an F5 and a J8. Now, how am I going to go around this? Well, I want to kill the easiest target first to simply get the numbers down. And now we are above the F8 or the J8. We have 2 F5s directly below us, and we have a decent amount of speed. So I want to use my opportunity right now to hold my position somewhat, to come back down and shoot at these guys as they are busy shooting someone else. This is the prime time for people not paying attention. That guy is not paying attention, but my missile instantly went for his missile, and that's just an absolute waste. And then I missed the easiest shot of my life, and we have to disengage, because I cannot stick in this fight. And with the J8 and the F5 being around, I need to be very careful. So I pop one flare, we drop the afterburner, see that the missile doesn't track anymore, and we are simply going to keep this loop up. Now, one of them is going supersonic, and he's about to intercept us quite hard, and I'm not going very fast. And the F5 is pretty easy to aim, so I need to make sure that I dodge him last second. Make sure to absolutely ruin his line. He isn't able to pull in, and we are gonna now drop down and shoot at the 2 guys below us. And here's the issue with the Aim-9J. He's super slow, he flares last second, the missile doesn't track. And now I do something a bit risky. I'm gonna ignore the J8 to go for the F5E, because the F5E is a much more dangerous plane. And I have a suspicion that the J8B is out of fuel. So I'm just gonna, and out of missiles, so I'm just gonna run away from him. He's super slow. And now I have to deal with the F5C. Now I will be able to outrun the F5C. I can just do a massive loop and go back to my friendlies. But that doesn't really portray anything about the plane. And I want to show you what this thing can do. So we have the F5 on our 6. I'm gonna kind of drag him away from the J8, and I'm hoping to run this guy out of fuel, because I have a feeling that he is either out or super low. He is not afterburning, he's not trying to be super fast, so he's trying to intercept me, probably with his last few ounces of fuel. So I'm just gonna turn away from him, and then we are gonna cut throttle a little bit to not compress too much, and then we are gonna make the F5 overshoot with relative ease. He's gonna overshoot because we are going quite a bit slower, and once we have the position, I'm gonna try to shoot him down. And here comes the main issue with this plane. The kind of floppiness with the low ammo count of one gun that's far to the side with relatively slow guns on guns that you can't see where they are going. So I get on this guy 6 quite handily. I get a crit on him. And we actually have a bit of an energy advantage now. So instead of trying to stick to the fight, I'm gonna break off, bank my speed a little bit and go back vertical. Now we missed the shot yet again. We are gonna cut our afterburner, try to stick on his 6. And we send him back to the hangar. But I hope that this portrays how hard it is to 1vx in this thing. And especially the prolonged fights. If you are in that kind of situation and there's another guy around, you're going way too slow to really do anything. And yes, the J8 ran out of fuel about 20 seconds after this clip. So the suspicion was somewhat correct. We go ahead on with half their team, and no real use in shooting at them. It's mostly a waste of ammo. Sometimes you'll get a hit, but mostly it's a hit. And it doesn't really do any real damage. Kind of annoying. The gun doesn't hit that hard, especially when you only have one of them. See a missile coming in, it's a tornado, and because of the battle rating that we are at, I know that it's not gonna be a Sparrow, so I'm just gonna ignore it. I flare it once. And I'm gonna stick to the fight with the F4EJ, because I don't wanna leave this guy up at altitude, as I already wasted a lot of speed. So I flare another time, this time it's the Harrier. We get actually kill stolen by the enemy, and now I'm just gonna shoot the missile, well, at the Harrier. And the Harrier is not really paying attention, he flares at last second anyway. And I can stick this fight. I know that I'm able to turn into this right here and take him out. The issue is my speed. Look at my speed right now, I'm only going 600 and, well, 700 now after diving a little bit. And I need to get out of here. I cannot stick in this fight, and I need to leave and hope that my team distracts them so I can pick up speed, come back when they are not paying attention, and simply just swipe up everyone that's not looking at me. And that's perfectly fine. However, my team isn't really present, so I need to be somewhat careful. I hear a guy coming in, we dodge him, and I see by his trajectory that he's gonna stick this fight. So if I try to run away from him, he's gonna catch me because he's actually a lot quicker than me. So I'd rather just finish this fight up as quick as I can so I can start disengaging again. I don't recommend taking these fights, but sometimes you simply have to. And sometimes taking risk is less risky than taking no risk at all. And I know this kind of sounds dumb, but trust me, it makes a lot of sense. If you are in a 1v4, for example, if you are going to pay no risk, you're probably not going to kill anyone. And if you don't kill any of them, guess what? Eventually you are going to lose. Whereas if you take the risk of dogfighting 2 at once, if you kill 1 or 2 of them, now it's only a 1v2. I know it comes down to being a bit lucky and kind of hoping that you get to kill them. But if you don't kill them in the 1v4, you're not going to get anything done anyway. So you might as well risk it. And with the risk, sometimes comes a bit more of a reward as simply trying to run away. So we kill the Mirage F1C. I didn't commentate on the kill after I got in the 6, because, well, the Mirage F1C is simply not gonna do anything to you once you park yourself directly up his bumhole. So we dive out for a little bit, we pick up our speed, and now we can re-engage the middle of the game. Now I only have 15 rounds left, but I know that I need to stay in this fight as this F5 needs help. And this thing might be very maneuverable, it might be pretty decent in 1v1s, but this plane is still a plane that requires somewhat a resemblance of a team. So by breaking off, not landing, I help out my F5, the J8 then just simply runs back to the airfield and nothing else happens. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and you'll see me in the next one.